Let me know when.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Downtown Riverfront Park site. We are here today on Facebook Live, which is a unique media experience for me, but really fun. And so I think you'll get to see a lot of things that are happening here that are happening behind a fence, so it's not easy for the public. And part of the reason we're doing this is to share with everyone the progress we're making and how exciting this vision to come to be is going to be. It's going to be great. So I'm Emily Proudfoot. I'm the project manager for the project. I work in the Parks and Open Space Planning Office for the City of Eugene, and I'm here with Alyssa Gavette, who's filming and monitoring questions and all kinds of stuff. So as we go along, you'll be able to answer questions through the Facebook Live feed, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. And then we also got some questions ahead of time, so I thought I'd start with that. With some of those as well. But before I do that, I'll probably give like a 2-minute history of the project, which is that vision for the downtown riverfront has been decades in the making. A riverfront park has always been a highlight of that visioning. And so there was some big master planning done about 10 years ago. And then from there, we rolled into the next phase, which was to start designing a park, and we hired Walker Macy Landscape Architects in 2017 to help us do that. So we've been working, we did a whole bunch of community outreach in 2018, we did all of the construction documentation in 2019, and here we are in 2020 building. It's very exciting. Originally, we were going to have this park completed in time for 2021, and I think we'll still be able to do that. But because 2021 events for the World Track and Field Championships have been moved to 2022, we now have just a little bit less stress, I think, on the job site about the need to complete things before an event that has now been moved. So that's really great. I think it gives us the time and a little more time and space to really make sure we're getting things right. This project is extraordinarily complicated. We're building overlooks and tons of utilities and decks and all these wonderful park amenities that are really going to help us get to the river and enjoy the river in a landscaped space. So it's nice to have a little bit of extra time. At the same time, on the bigger downtown riverfront site, like what we sort of call the new neighborhood, there are the construction of streets and infrastructure and pipes to support a future neighborhood is now happening. So we'll start to see curbs and gutters and sidewalks after we see all these big pipes go in. A third project that's actually happening on the downtown riverfront right now is that EWIB is expanding their huge water main also to the south from where it enters the site. And so that's another independent project. And so we're all working together collaboratively to figure out how to keep working on this site efficiently within our own spaces and make this neighborhood come to reality in kind of in parallel process. So that's a little bit of update on the neighborhood development, the overall vision for the downtown riverfront. I think there's one more little project that you'll probably see coming to fruition, which is, and it's not exactly park related, but there is construction fence all the way around this site, and it will be for the foreseeable future as building development starts to happen. We have a call to artists out to be able to decorate those sections of fence. And so that's pretty exciting. It'll be temporary public art, but it will be public art that I think will help people engage further with this site instead of just looking through a chain link fence. So that's really exciting. Did we have a question about funding?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
About where funding is coming from.
Okay, so where does funding come? I'll just speak about the Downtown Riverfront Park funding. It's a big meld of funding. So we have about half of our funding is from urban renewal dollars, and then the balance of it is public works funds. So funds from stormwater, funds from transportation, funds from the Parks Bond Measure fund, and then other parks capital funds. So it's a big mix, which is appropriate because the stormwater funds are helping us to create a riverbank that's healthier and more full of native plants, and it's less steep. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Transportation, obviously, for our improved bike path system, stormwater, so we can treat the stormwater that comes off this site before it enters the river. There's a great mix of funds here that I think it makes the project richer. And then there was another question about we did a whole bunch of earth moving on this site last year, and part of that was to make our bank, the riverbank, less steep. So we'll look at it when we go out on the site, but originally the top of the bank where the bike path was here, and there was a very steep bank down to the river. And what we did when we made the bank less steep is we did this. So now the top of the bank is back here instead of up here. I'm not sure that'll make sense, but we can see it on site when we go. So we have a much less steep bank in many locations, and that's good for the river. That's really good for the river. So, any other questions I was supposed to hit? Nobody asked questions? Okay, so now we're going to walk out on the job site. Anytime we go on the job site, we have to have proper PPE, hard hat, vest, boots, and then if you're going to be closer than 6 feet to someone, you need a mask. But Alyssa and I are more than 6 feet apart, and we're staying 6 feet apart from everybody else. So I won't wear a mask today because that would also make it really hard for you to hear me. But yes, proper PPE is essential. You'll see signage around the sites that keep a 6 foot distance. And so Brown Contracting, our general contractor for this project, is also implementing those protocols. So I think that's it. Let's get out on the site. Okay, so we're actually standing where the future plaza will be. So this park actually is happening in 2 phases. The first phase will be the Riverfront Park, and the outside edge of it will be the bike path. The future phase of the park will be the plaza. For now, this plaza area will be all grass with some paths and some lighting, and it will stay that way until we develop this second phase of the park, probably in 2022 or 2023. We have more design work to do on it, and then there's also the World Games coming in 2022 and many other things we need to coordinate with. But it will come, it will happen, and we're very excited about that next phase of the project. For now, we are here looking out over the river. There's a lot of equipment on site, and it looks like they're maybe going to take a break for lunch, so we'll walk across and look over the bank. Today we got a really big delivery. They got a really big delivery of rebar. So rebar is the steel that goes into the concrete walls that are going to support the overlooks. Rebar also goes into concrete walks to keep it from cracking. So there's a lot of steel in this job. All right, here we are. This is the 5th Street Overlook. So what you're seeing here is the forming of the walls that will support the overlook that reaches over this bank and out, so you can see up and down the river. This is really exciting. This is where the support for the structure is going to come from. But they'll be adding rebar to these walls and then pouring them full of concrete. So that's pretty exciting. It required some excavation into the pretty steep bank here. So that's what's happening. Okay, so let's head this way, Alyssa. Actually, let's go around the machine. If you look over there, you can see all of the rebar that's been pre-bent to create structure for the concrete in those walls. Okay, we're walking past more rebar. Lots of equipment, trucks, stakes. As we walk across the site, you'll see a lot of these stakes with orange tops. And these are survey stakes. They tell us where everything is supposed to go in the future. So as designers, we can come out on the site, and the line that we drew on paper are now stakes in the ground. And it helps us understand where things are in space. And that's really, really helpful, even for our contractors who are on this site every day. Okay, so now we're going to the section where we laid the bank back. So we made the bank less steep. So I don't know how many people rode the bike path along the website over the years, but I'm sure plenty of you did. And this manhole right here is actually a manhole that goes down to the pipe where the mill race drains into the river. When we laid the bank back, that manhole used to be in the bike path. And when we laid the bank back, it was about 5 feet taller than it is in that location. So that means that we took probably 10 feet down, and that the edge of the bank used to be on top of that manhole, and now it's where I'm standing. So if you film over there, Alyssa, you can see a more gradual bank, and that's where we laid the bank. Now, there are stakes that are cutting across that bank, and those are marking the outside edge of a future deck where people will be able to walk over and then see out to the river, which is pretty exciting. Let's walk over to some of, watch your step. All good. It's good, yeah. So here you can see lots of Brown Contracting equipment. They've got rollers, they've got scrapers, they've got backhoes, they've got track hoes, they've got bobcats. They have all the things. We also are starting to get some pieces of materials and supplies on the site. So back on the far right there, the green pipe is sanitary pipe. So we'll be adding a Sanitary Main that will serve this whole site, and particularly our new Portland Blue restroom, which will be located where those backhoes are over there. This is a manhole. There's 3 manholes there. And so I think most of us experience a manhole as just a circular lid on top in the concrete in the street. And sometimes when you drive over, it goes ka-chank. So what's underneath that manhole is a concrete tube, and that's what these are. And so these will go in the ground, and all you'll see is that lid. But I think it's kind of fun to see them up on top of the ground to understand how far down that hole goes, and that it's holding back the earth, and there's pipes that come in and out of it. And we use these manholes then to clean out the pipes, to access the pipes, and to maintain our piped systems. So that's pretty fun. The manholes themselves are here to the right, and they look relatively inconsequential by comparison, but that's what you'll see. Okay. How are we doing? Great. Okay. Do we have more questions? No questions? Okay. Let's keep going.
The world's very appreciative of this behind the scenes look.
Oh, Laurel, I got you. Okay, so we're heading south on the site. And in the distance, you'll see the E-Web steam plant, which is not a part of our project, but we will be doing future park work to make the interface of the steam plant with the park really a special place to be. In the meantime, there's still the giant electrical tower. And, you know, this is probably the remnant. We have to move out of the way for a giant semi. This is the remnant of the power and water that E-Web's been supplying to our community for over 100 years. It will likely move on at some point. We'll wait for the truck. We anticipate that these lines will be moved at some point, so the tower may likely come down in the next year or two. But having said that, I always kind of appreciate the tower as a remnant of the history of this site from a utility standpoint. I think some people think it's ugly, which is okay, and there are concerns that it would sort of block views or frame a view in a way from future neighborhood, and so I'm appreciative of all those things. But it's a landmark for us now. It's also a place where we have a giant water pipe coming under the river that comes up into the site there, and so it's kind of a landmark for that as well. So as we move south on the site, we'll get closer to the some areas where we replanted with wildflowers, and maybe we can look down there as well. Okay.
Tom is asking why the less steep bank is good for the site.
Oh, Tom is asking why the less steep bank is good for the site. So, less steep banks actually create more riparian area for a river. So when it floods, You know, we have more room for it to come up if we need to, but also like a less steep bank creates more land right next to the river, and that's a habitat opportunity for birds and wildlife. And so I think, you know, by any stretch of the imagination, we have immensely improved the riverbank. We will have immensely improved the riverbank condition here. So there was a lot of rock on that part of the less steep bank. Right now, we'll have another layer of rock that comes in that will be soil choked, and we'll plant every exposed rock area with native plants. So I think, and then along the more steep areas that we left, those areas have actually had all of their non-native plants removed, and last year we planted over 24,000 native flowers and plants for the bank. And again, that's a habitat enhancement piece, and it also creates a much healthier bank environment for the river. So let's keep going.
Can you talk about the riprap on the laid back bank? Was it imported? Was it there before?
Oh, good question.
What will the bank look like when we're done?
Okay, so the question was about whether or not the riprap was there before or if it's new, and then what will it look like when we're done. So no, this is all, we weren't really sure how much riprap we would see because this has been an armored bank for a long time. It's an excellent question. And so 98% of this riprap is imported. We did the riprap that we found in the bank were actually quite large pieces, and then we set those at the bottom of the bank to create a toe hold for the fabric that's actually underneath this riprap. And again, what it'll look like when we're done is we won't have all this exposed rock, but we'll have that armoring in there to hold the slope against a big river. But it will be soil choked, so there'll be rock and then lots of soil in it, and then we'll plant within that environment, and there'll be all new native plants. Hope that helps. Okay. All right, watch your step, Alyssa. We're in squishy rock. Woo! Job sites are very dynamic places. There's a lot of machinery, dirt, all kinds of things. Think about like remodeling your house, but like on a massive scale. Okay, let's go a little bit over here more, Alyssa. So we're here, there's some baby geese, which is kind of awesome. They're right there with their parents. This is the time of year where we see a lot of birds hatch. Earlier this year we had some killdeer on the site. Killdeer love disturbed rocky sites, and they had some teeny tiny little killdeer that were out here. I expect to see ducklings and other things. And we've had a pretty consistent presence of a blue heron on the site down by the river fishing. They know the good fishing holes around here. So it's been, you know, this is a fantastic project site. It's a really beautiful place to be on a regular basis. So we're excited to open it to the public when it's ready. But in the meantime, without disturbing the ducklings too much, this is the example of the steep bank that we did not lay back. And so it's a little green now, but a few weeks ago it was full of flowers. So we have sword ferns, and we have columbine and bleeding heart and lupin, all kinds of native plants on the bank here that are starting to take hold. We do have an irrigation system for them, so if it gets really hot this summer, they will have the water they need to establish firmly. And then also, you know, while we removed a ton of the non-native invasives here earlier this year, it's pretty hard to see them sometimes, and so we'll be doing follow-up work by you know, doing additional removal of ivy or blackberries, or kind of spot removal of the things that we missed. So again, really looking to preserve that ongoing integrity of the work that we did here, and keep the health of this new bank condition. I think one thing I'll add is that where we are right now is kind of the central part of the park project. We have more work that we'll do north of the UAB headquarters buildings near the Peter DeFazio Bridge, and then south of the steam plant to create a connection to the U of O North Campus property. So while we're kind of focused our work here now because this is the big structural work we need to do. We'll see more work later on in the summer at either end of the project site. Anything else we want to talk about?
Do you want to take a quick look at the Overlook?
Yeah, let's go to the South Overlook. Let's do it.
And then we can wrap it up there.
Okay, then we'll wrap it up from there. So it's a little quieter at this end of the site right now, but yesterday was an extremely busy day in which we poured some concrete piers for what we're calling the South Overlook. So the North Overlook or the 5th Street Overlook is a pretty wide, pretty big overlook that will have this art piece, this pavilion art piece over it. The South Overlook is smaller, but it's a pretty steep condition. So it's very technical. It's been, we've had some rain. We're really on top of keeping construction workers safe in this pretty steep environment. So we've just had to do a lot of really careful considerations of how to, really do this work. It's been a challenging piece, and yesterday we poured the piers. So that's very exciting. The piers are the foundation for this overlook. This particular spot is just so amazing. It's got such beautiful upriver views. You can see up to the Frohnmeyer Bridge, the little riffles in the water. You can hear the water. It's really, really beautiful. And so in this place, this will be at the end of one of the streets that comes from the riverfront. And this overlook will cantilever out over this slope. And so you'll be able to get out further than the top of the bank right now and really experience what the river looks like up and down the river and across to Alton Baker Park. I think, I also think it's pretty amazing that we have views of Alton Baker Park here and that these views are of some riparian habitat that are some of the best in the city. So it's just a view that I really, really appreciate. And within this overlook, we'll have one of our interpretive pieces. It's going to be the energy piece. It will interpret the steam plant. And so it's going to be a circle in the pavement, and it will have all the parts and pieces and tell a story of the steam plant. But it will also have light and mist that comes out of it. And so the mist is supposed to be like the steam, and the light, at night I think the piece will be particularly compelling because the light will change colors and the mist will be going, and light through mist is really beautiful. So I think it's a great interpretation of this amazing place and the history of this site for over 100 years. So.
One last question.
Okay.
Kate wants to know about the orange fencing. And what
Oh, excellent. Kate wants to know about the orange fencing. So one of the most important things that we did on this project is from a design perspective, is that we are not going below what we call the ordinary high water line. So that preserves the river, but also really helped us keep, from doing a ton of extra permitting and extra in-water work and things like that. So it marks the ordinary high water line. It also protects the trees. This is tree protection fencing at the same time, and sediment. We have some places where we're excavating. We definitely have compost piles down there to protect from sediment going further into the river. So it's really a marker about saving trees, about not going beyond that distance down to the river's edge. And I think it also keeps people safe. I mean, I think if you stumbled a little bit, maybe the fence would break your fall. So, but yeah, it's really, it's an important marker for a whole bunch of reasons. Good question. Is that it? Okay, so thanks everyone for coming along today. We have plans to do this again. So maybe the next time we come out, we'll have a platform on this overlook, or we'll start to see some of the sidewalks being poured and the walls and things like that. So it's a really exciting project for Eugene. I don't think we've ever built a project in parks that's this complex and this meaningful, I think, for so many people in the community. It's legacy work. I feel so privileged to be a part of it. I feel really excited, and it's not just me. We have an unbelievable team of designers, city staff, marketing, communications, all kinds of really amazing people who are on our team to help make this a reality. We all bring our specialties and our special knowledge. I want to give a particular shout out to our project inspector, Spencer Crawford, who is here, eyes and ears on the project every single day and is totally kicking butt on behalf of the city. So there'll be lots more to come. Thanks for coming along today, and I look forward to seeing you again.